Hello there, hockey fans, and welcome to the inaugural edition of Sharks Diagnosis. I'm Andrew Bensch, alongside my partner, Kenneth Laws.
Every couple of weeks, we will break down the diagnosis of Team Teal. Each episode, we will come up with 3 questions and answer them the best we can. Tonight, we discuss the captaincy, projected opening night lineup, and whether the Sharks have the depth to get off to a hot start.
All right, first things first, Kenneth, how do you see the captain situation shaking out this season?
I definitely see, at least for the beginning part of the season, we're only going to have A's out there. There isn't going to be a C. I think what we're going to see is Doug Wilson has had his hand in this team all off season, and I think if he has anything to say with it, Joe Thornton won't see the C ever again. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. How about you?
See, I think you're right on the money when having this team. No captain is necessary. Have all A's. Montreal Canadiens made a similar announcement that they're only going to go with alternate captains. And I think that's the way you go with this team because there's been so much pressure on 2 guys specifically in the leadership, Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau. And if McClellan, which he's been talking about for years, and especially this offseason, leadership by committee, if it's really by a committee, why put that pressure on one guy in particular and have him wear the C when the pressure can be spread out leadership-wise on different guys. So I think you're right. I think they're only going to go with alternates to start the season.
Right.
Shifting gears now, we're going to take a look at the projected opening lineup for that game in L.A. Let's look here. We got Tomas Hertl, Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski. That top line is as good as anybody. We look at the second line. That's Patrick Marleau, Logan Couture, and Matt Nieto. That's a line that's been the most consistent in the preseason. Down the stretch last year, they were together. The third line, you got a couple of rookies, and Goudreau and Tierney. And then that fourth line, we got Mike Brown, Andrew Desjardins, and Adam Bensch, which is not something you really write home about for a fourth line. What do you see here with what we think McClellan is going to go with that first game on Wednesday? What do you see, and what do you think you would kind of make alterations?
The big glaring alteration I have to say is Joe Pavelski is a center. He was one of the best face-off guys in the entire league. And when he plays on that third line, he raises the level of everyone with him. And unfortunately, the Sharks have always shifted Joe Pavelski around. They put him wherever they want. He's been on the first line. He's been on the second line. And he will always perform. But with the new shift and the dynamic that they want, it seems like they're going to stay with him on the first line just to try and make those top 2 lines really competitive.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I've always thought Pavelski on that third line center makes this team so much deeper. But it'll be interesting to see how they go to start the year. Having him at center is, obviously more important down the stretch and in the playoffs. Early on, maybe they can tinker with the rookies and do a little bit of different stuff just to test it out and see if they can come up, because we know Pavelski in the top 6 is really, beneficial if you had a third line center that could fill in. But obviously, Michael Handzus, James Shepard, those guys did not fit the bill at third line center. Right. So we're going to take a look at the defense right now, see what we got with the top pair. Probably going to be Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Brent Burns. Can't really get any better than that for a top pair. And then the second pair might be 2 righties, which usually they like to have a lefty and righty on each pair, but we might have Braun and Demers. And then that third pair might be Matt Irwin and Taylor Fedun. What do you see here, and what do you like? What would you maybe do a little bit differently?
The only thing I would say would be to do any differently. I really liked what I've seen from Mirko Muller.
Right, the rookie,
he is really coming on strong. And as we saw with Tomas Hertl last year, the Sharks do draft well. They pick the right guys, and they don't rush them into the league. They don't have any sort of blank spots in between the time while they're in the minors and then moving up to the big leagues.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it too, they had Charlie Coyle, who got traded away, was a first-round pick, and Hertl and Mueller, and even Al Goldobin in this past draft. So the first-round picks, at least so far, have been pretty darn good.
It's a funny story, actually. It seems like that Taylor Fedun kid, I remember you talking about him, how he came up with Edmonton, and how Edmonton didn't really treat him the right way.
Right.
And he never really got a shot, and he's looked really good so far.
Yeah, no, he has, and it's one of those things. It's kind of weird how he doesn't get a shot with Edmonton when, I call that defense a Swiss cheese defense, because there's so many holes in that. And a guy like that, you think you would have gotten more of a shot with a team like Edmonton. Now, basically, when you look at this team defense, with Burns back there is a lot more solid, and offensively, the bottom six might be a little bit weak, but overall still a good unit. We're going to ask this last question here. Can they get off to a good hot start with the injuries at forward? It's going to be interesting. You got Torres out. He may not be playing all year. Tyler Kennedy is a little bit on the mend, and James Shepard. So do you think they might have a hiccup here to start the season with all the young guys that have to step up?
I definitely see a rough patch at some point in the season, and every team goes through rough patches and all that.
Well, they have a lot of road games to start, too.
They do, but also with that start, they only face the Western Conference 2 out of their 9 first games. And,
right, they have an East Coast trip. Right?
And that East Coast trip, we all know the Eastern Conference isn't nearly as strong as the Western Conference. I mean, a lot of people could have said that the Sharks-Kings series should have been the Stanley Cup. The Kings-Blackhawks series should have been the Stanley Cup. And then the Kings went and dismantled the Rangers, made Henrik Lundqvist look really bad. The Sharks have a pretty easy start to the season. And I think with the talent they still have Thornton, they still have Marlowe. Hurdle's going to be back for a whole season, hopefully. And they still have all of the talent to score. They compete with the best of them still. I think they are very capable of a hot start.
Yeah, when we talk about Pavelski being in the third-line center position, you and I both, obviously, we mentioned that. We like that situation for the Sharks. And, they have Burns back at defense now. If they keep him there, they're one winger short, one good top six winger short of having 3 really good lines and competing with the best of the best. Now, if they move him back to forward, obviously they'd be one defenseman short. So, but they're that one guy, one key guy short, and that kind of gives them time. The young guys can see what see what you have in them, and then if you need to make a move, you can go out and make a move. So, a lot of people are kind of down on the Sharks after last year, but like you said, Tomas Hertl back, Matt Nieto, they're still really, really good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That is all the time we have for this inaugural segment of Sharks Diagnosis. For my partner, Kenneth Laws, I'm Andrew Bensch. We hope to see you next time. Good night.